So I'm in between two cars today. To my left is a Mercedes-Benz C300 and to my right is a Chrysler 300S V6. And today I'm going to be comparing these two luxury sedans and walking you through them and showing you what's to like and not like about either of these. Now, of course, this video is titled one of the worst cars in existence, and I think you know which one I'm talking about. So yeah, let's hop into the video and see how these two cars stack up. German versus American. Let's hop right into the video. Now, starting with the Chrysler C300's engine, this is a 3.6 liter V6, makes around 300 horsepower, and that's peaked at around 6,350 RPMs. And it's mated to an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. It's a very popular transmission, and this one is rear wheel drive. Should do 0 to 60 in around 6.3 seconds. Now, over here, the Mercedes-Benz C300 has a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4, makes 255 horsepower. This is not the 4MATIC, this is the rear-wheel drive C300, and it should do 0 to 60 in around 5.5 seconds if you get the correct launch on it. Now, the reason why this has a significantly better 0 to 60 on it is the fact that it has an 800-pound weight difference over this. So even though this makes less horsepower, it is significantly lighter than this big American sedan. All right, now as for cargo volume for these two sedans, this holds around 16.3 cubic feet of cargo in its trunk, and that is actually a benefit when getting the Chrysler 300 because the Mercedes has around 25% less storage space. This has 12.6 cubic feet of cargo space. So yes, that is a point towards the Chrysler. All right, so in the no, 300S, yes, the Chrysler 300S. It's funny that we're pinning two 300 models up against each other. And so this is powered by a 3.6 liter V6 versus the 2-liter inline-4 on the C300. And yeah, it being bigger and everything like that, the car's bigger, so the driving feels different. The interior just overall feels different in general.
For the interior, it's probably something that a lot of people who review Chryslers or Dodge or just anything,
don't pussyfoot around it. It's not great.
I was just gonna say, anyone who's ever reviewed them is probably gonna say the same thing.
It's not great.
It's not good. Like,
it's, you know, this one was probably a fully loaded 300S V6, costs around $49,000, and a new C-Class that's rear-wheel drive with the AMG night package on it, the actual leather, the heated and ventilated seats is around $50,000, $50,000 to $51,000. And the interior of that car is far better than this will ever be. Now granted, this one isn't necessarily fully loaded, so it's missing some things, but it's not like the stuff on this car changes that much.
Right, getting the V8's not going to give you all of a sudden all this leather and nice metal instead of plastics and fakery.
The dash itself is very cheap looking. Granted, this part is soft compared to like the Dodge Charger. That was kind of crappy. But the doors are just like hard feeling vinyl. The plastics around the infotainment system controls was crappy feeling plastic.
I mean, I think the only metal in this car,
this is like rubbery feeling, right?
Like the handles in the shifter dial.
And like the surround off, the surround of the door handles is just cheap plastic too. That's like the thing with this, is it just feels like a Dodge Charger in here.
And like, not to, you know, beat a dead horse, but it's not even just the materials either, it's the overall design. It just feels so old. Like, looking at this door panel, if this was leather, I don't think that it would have been any better. And we went to SEMA and we saw what the
Chrysler Group can do.
Right, we've seen what they can do with the Grand Wagoneer. The Grand Wagoneer. That looked awesome. Like, honestly, hands down, looked awesome. But this is just
This is so subpar.
It's not even, does not even look like they're related in any way. And I get, oh, you're comparing Jeep to Chrysler, but you know, when they're all owned by the same overall company, when the gauges look straight out of a Dodge Charger, when the Uconnect system is exactly out of a Dodge Charger, and the window switch is
out of a Dodge Dart.
Out of a Dodge Dart. So you can't say that they can't pull a couple design things from the new Jeeps and put it in here.
Well, and you know, speaking of the gauges, it's about the only thing I like in here. And I like them in the Dodge Charger as well. So the main car we're going to be comparing this to today, the Mercedes, it's not an exact like match, right? The American sedans are definitely bigger, but it's close enough in value. And if you're looking for luxury and you're deciding between American and German, I mean, it's a pretty big definitive choice right there. Overall, the interior in here just is not impressive. It feels like a Dodge Dart, or not even, it feels like a Dodge Charger.
Oh yeah, not even to mention these seats straight
out of a Dodge Charger.
Even the steering wheel.
There's like no effort to mask the fact that this is, there's no like effort to mask that this is the Dodge Charger's platform. Like, it is so clearly a Dodge Charger.
Well, I thought moving the plate might brighten this up, but I don't know what's going on, but this is so dim.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
The infotainment system's easy to use, though. When we tested how long it would take to connect a Bluetooth device to the infotainment system, the Mercedes took 44 seconds, and the Uconnect system took 21 seconds, almost 22 seconds, to go from not connected to connected, which is good for the Chrysler. That's a point towards the Chrysler. And then the back seats here were much more comfortable than the Mercedes was. But up front, and when it comes to materials, I think this just is so lackluster compared to, you know, its German counterpart competitors for the same price.
Yeah, it's not even, like, you can't even argue that the Mercedes is so much more expensive or that it's in some sort of completely different, like, segment. They're both sedans, they're both luxury oriented, and they're both around the same price.
Like, Chrysler markets itself, or at least used to market themselves, as a luxury brand for cars. And
like, if you wanted to look like you were cool, like you had some money,
that's just like terribly boaty steering. Like, it's not good. I mean, I'll do an acceleration. This is supposed to do 0 to 60 in 3.6. I mean, I'll do like just foot down.
No. The Mercedes, the C-Class in comfort mode felt more like...
Yeah, the Mercedes is just because it's turbocharged. It's so peppy. Like, there's benefits to naturally aspirated if you have a V8. And that V8 allows you to, like, build those revs and have fun with it. But this V6 is just, it's not fast revving. It's not even high revving. The transmission in here, it's a ZF 8-speed, which they're good, but in here it just feels kind of slow. It does feel kind of slow compared to, like, I don't know, what you'd find it in a BMW or a higher end Dodge Charger with like the Hellcat motor or the 6.4,
or like a 2017 GT or 2SS, 1SS.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel that fast. Like, it feels like it's been tuned to be slower, honestly. And I guess it could be to make it smoother, but that wouldn't make sense either. It just feels slower than the ZF has in the past. It doesn't, it's good, it's smooth, but it's not ridiculously quick. And let's talk about the key fob. This is a little nitpicky.
What key do you got there? Is that a Charger key?
It might as well be a Dodge Durango.
Oh.
Or a Chrysler Pacifica.
Yeah.
It might as well go to a Dodge Journey.
Oh, yeah.
Or a Dodge Challenger. It might, you know, whatever you want. This key has been used by Dodge, or the FCA group at least. The last time I remember seeing it was on a 2015 Durango that we had. That its transmission blew up, by the way, within the first 1,500 miles of owning it. And then we proceeded to go buy another one, and then the transmission blew up after 30,000 miles. But, yeah. This is so old. Which is crazy because the Chrysler Pacifica actually is a really good looking key. The Maserati does. The Fiat does.
Alfa Romeo.
The Alfa Romeo. Which, by the way, that's a good point. I almost forgot about that. The Alfa Romeo Giulia TI costs about this much new. Right around 50 grand, right? When we spec'd it?
Yeah.
Okay, right around 50 grand.
It was a little bit less.
It shaves off a second for your 0 to 60 and is a far nicer car.
And it's still made from a sister company of this vehicle.
Yeah, it's still FCA. And it's a lot better than this is. Miles ahead better than this is.
You just have to ask yourself, like, what are they doing? Like, Chrysler has the potential to be so much better than it is, but it's just...
And they have the resources. Like, you own 3 Italian brands. You own Fiat. Well, I guess Stellantis owns 3 Italian brands. Stellantis owns 3 Italian brands: Fiat, Alfa Romeo, and Maserati. Like, the potential is there. Not to mention this also, literally, I think the Maserati Ghibli is built on the same platform this is too. You were in it.
The Maserati Ghibli, I can almost say, felt worse than this. Like, honestly. And it wasn't the refreshed one, I'll give it that. It was the pre-refresh Ghibli, but it was
not
bad.
Good.
It was bad.
It was bad. I couldn't think.
And before I'd ever gotten in one, I always thought that the Ghibli was a cool car. And that changed my mind. Like, that's bad.
Yeah, I don't really, like, to wrap it all up on the Chrysler 300S. Or just the Chrysler 300 in general. I am not a fan, and there's a lot of people out there who agree with me that you just can't be that big of a fan of this car because there's not much to be a fan of. And even then, you might say, well, buy one used, right? So we were looking at 300S V6s and V8s, and then we're comparing it to a C300 4MATIC. And you might say, well, the C300 is an inline 4. I get that. And the V8 is a V8. The problem is that the C300 4MATIC is nearly as fast as a Chrysler 300S V8.
Not even just in the 0 to 60, but in the quarter mile too.
In the quarter mile too.
So there's no benefit from having that V8 for top end.
Like, it's sad. It just is so lackluster compared to every other luxury brand out there. When you think of Chrysler, you think of the FCA Group's luxury brand. But they have so many luxury brands now. They have Alfa Romeo, which is a sports car brand, and Maserati, and Chrysler. And it's like, no one looks at Chrysler. You shouldn't look at Chrysler like it's some kind of normal car brand, because that's not how it was supposed to be looked at. A luxury brand. And this just does not live up to being a luxury brand. So we're going to hop in the Mercedes C300 right now, and we're going to go over that and see how that is to be in.
Oh, and one last thing to note. Try to take this from a perspective of that we don't hate the Chrysler 300 and we don't hate Chrysler or the FCA Group in general. We want them to be good. We want an American car to be nice.
Yeah, we want the American car to be able to compete. Like, dude, it's still just got a foot parking brake.
I want this car to be nice. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I'm so glad it's crappy so I can say the Mercedes is that much better. I want it to be nice. I want this to beat the Mercedes.
Right, but it's not.
In no way. Whether you look at performance,
the Ford Fusion's
pricing,
nicer than this. How about that?
Interior quality.
The Ford Fusion's nicer than this car is.
Any category. I just can't think of one where this is able to confidently beat out a Mercedes.
All right, let's hop into the C300.
Just feels so much more welcoming, just right off the bat.
Never get used to that. No, you never get used to the thing, the swaddling of the seatbelts ever. Okay, first impressions. It's a much better interior.
It clearly has much less room, but it does not feel like that at all.
No, what it feels like is very driver focused.
Right, like just sitting here, I feel so much more like, I don't know, it felt like I was so disconnected, even as a passenger, from anything that was going on in the Chrysler. But in this, it feels like I'm being welcomed in.
Yeah, this is, so overall, well, I mean, I'm going to be honest, the interior quality already is better. You have so many more soft touch, non-scratchy materials. You have the wood trim in the center. Most of your buttons in here are metallic.
Now hang on, I counted about 3 things. The door handles, the gear selector, and there was one other item that was metal in the Chrysler.
The wheels.
The engine, maybe? Unless that's plastic too. So there was about 2 to 3 items in there that I could count that were not plastic or fake leather.
Everything I touch in here that has a function
3,
is
4,
metal.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's at least 11 different, not individual items, but sections in the car. Oh, the dash has some metal on it. 12. It's just metal after metal.
Let's see how this inline 4 feels.
Oh yeah, you put that into Sport Plus, it'll really kick in.
Wow. That is much faster. That is much faster.
And this is in comfort mode still.
Yeah, this is comfort mode. The transmission is honestly way smoother. This is a 9-speed. So, drive modes are the first thing you get in any German vehicle that make the vehicle just overall a better time to drive. So, the Mercedes. The seats up front are more comfortable. When I sat in the back earlier, the seats were much less comfortable than the Chryslers were. I've had some traction loss. The seats up front are much more comfortable, and it feels like this is so much more of a driver's car. This is definitely faster.
Yeah.
You will have way more fun in here.
And it's a lot more, it's a lot easier to give the Mercedes some credit because it's got the smaller engine anyway. But even then, it's like you don't have to give it any slack.
No, I'm not giving this car slack, but I've been in enough Mercedes to know that they basically have all their shit together. And the gauges are not as pretty looking as the Chryslers. The Chryslers were just a little more stylish than these ones are.
Granted, you can get fully digital gauges in this, which
so this one's a 2019, which means that it did not come with standard digital gauges before. But now it does, which makes the C300's gauges better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a mute point.
I mean, I don't know. People might not like the digital gauges, but I'm a huge fan of them. I think the analogs just look kind of gross.
You also can control the gauge cluster and the screen over here using the buttons on the steering wheel, which is a nice thing. The car's also just way more fun to drive, and corners a lot better, and the steering is a lot more responsive and focused.
I mean, I think the biggest thing I can complain about is that the screen isn't touchscreen. Like, the wheel is okay.
Yeah, but it's not as simple to use as the Chryslers.
And I think that's really what set it apart for how fast we were able to connect everything. Is it was just like boom, boom, boom versus like, all right, where am I scrolling to?
Yeah, that's a big problem with that. But the newer ones do take care of that issue.
Right.
God, I mean, I hate to admit it every single time I get in a German vehicle. I really do. I don't want to be like, oh my God, how could this be so garbage? But it's like, when does the change come? I think overall, the Mercedes is just, if you're gonna buy a luxury car, just stay away from buying the 300S or just the 300 in general, because at least a baseline C300, and I get it, the C300 is more expensive new, but if you're looking for leather seats and all that stuff, like, you're gonna be spending $38,000 to start.
Right.
And the Mercedes doesn't start that much higher.
If you want to have a luxury vehicle and, you know, try to be quite posh, I hate to say it, but don't kid yourself. Don't get the Chrysler 300, because you might on the outside get something that resembles what could have been a good car, but on the inside, it's just not really going to impress.
And back seat room in this honestly isn't even that bad. When we were in our most comfortable positions, I still probably had the same amount of knee room as I did in the 300S.
Yeah.
My headroom was a little smaller in here, a little shorter headroom, but my knee room was just about the same. And like I said, the seats in general are more comfortable in the Chrysler, but as for room, they're the same.
Yeah, and being in the driver's seat in the C300 and the Chrysler 300, something about it. It could just be me, but it was so hard to get comfortable in that car to the point where I could just like not feel like I'm stressed driving, or I can just like, you know, relax and drive it like I would my own personal vehicle. In the Mercedes, I was able to just adjust a couple things for a couple seconds and boom.
The Mercedes is a lot easier to get comfortable in.
Yeah.
Much, much easier. It's overall just a better car. And I know people are going to complain saying you can't compare a German car to an American car. Well, you can when they're trying to compete in the same, you know, luxury sedan bracket. You can.
We didn't tell Chrysler to try and compete with Mercedes.
We didn't tell Chrysler to claim to be a luxury brand, but they did. And now look what that's got them. Not good. Not good. Now we still have to compare cargo sizes and everything like that, and engines, and finish this video up, but right now the C300 is looking like a winner. And the Chrysler just looks more and more like the biggest mistake any car manufacturer has ever made.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have these particular cars available, but the BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4, I mean, if you spec any of those cars up, sometimes they're a bit more expensive, sometimes they're not, but overall, they're probably going to offer a lot more features, if not like by standard.
And just a better experience.
Yeah. And also not an interior that looks like it's over 5 years old.
Now, as for my rationale for this video, the Chrysler 300C can be spec'd up to around $49,000, and a C300 can be spec'd up to around $51,000. That's not much of a price difference. That's about $2,000, and over a certain period of months, it's only about $20 to $30 per month. That's not that much money. That is like 6 trips to Starbucks. It's nothing. So, when you are comparing these cars, it is easy to compare their capabilities because they're almost the same exact price new. Now, granted, that's not getting you a V8 in here, but the V8 in this is not nearly as fast as the inline 4 in this car. So, Chrysler markets itself also as a luxury brand. Everyone agrees with that. But yes, Chrysler markets itself as a luxury brand, and so does Mercedes. But when I get in a Chrysler 300, I don't feel like I'm in a luxury vehicle. It feels like I'm in a Dodge Charger, and that is reflected on what me and Ethan said when driving both of these vehicles. We don't feel like we're in a luxury car. We feel like we're in a Dodge, versus the Mercedes is an occasion every single time you get into the car to drive it. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more videos from us, make sure you subscribe. Hope this video really told you why you should never buy a Chrysler 300S, V6, V8, Touring L, whatever model trim they have, you shouldn't buy it. Go for something else. Whether it's American, German, or Japanese, you will find a way better deal and a way better car somewhere else than this. So I will see you all in the next video.